What's going on, pickers and rooters? Tom here, and really looking at simplifying guitar playing today. I've often obsessed with trying to use the whole guitar neck when playing a solo because it's the cool thing to do. It makes you look a lot more experienced. And I'm playing some Dickie Betts solos, and I realize how little of the neck he is using, but he sounds so good, and he's got a ton of tricks. And that's why today we're looking at just one scale in one position, a couple variations, how you can make almost any lead out of those scales. And it's really simple and convenient for you because playing lead in other positions might not be as easy as it is here. So this is really the money-making guitar position. And any other position in the pentatonic scale gets a lot more difficult to play runs and chords. So think of using the first position as a way to invent a lot of your own techniques and be good at playing this one position. And you could be like Dickie Betts, because that's what Dickie Betts did. He mastered one position. One way out. That's really just 4 notes in here, 4 or 5 notes on 3 strings. It's part of one little scale. So with the first position, what can we do here? Why is it so valuable? Well, I've got the most bending opportunities. And in other positions on the fretboard and pentatonic scale, I don't have the same kind of luxury. Yeah, I might have it down here. Or I might have it up here. But it's not as convenient, meaning it's harder to play fast runs and bends and do runs around these areas. So it's easier to do something like this. But it's harder to do over here. Doesn't give you the same kind of flexibility. I only have here in the octave where I can play that. And I find it a lot more convenient to play with those higher strings, because you're bending on these higher strings a little snappier. Versus when you're playing on these fatter strings, you get a different tone. So you get a little bit of that thicker bending, which sounds cool in some spot. But I could play this thing, these licks, in a different place. So you got that. That's just the octave up here in position 1. Way easier than playing that. I have more options there, as well as it being an easier lick to play. Another thing that's really cool is the chord combinations that you can get out of this first position. Oh, bluesy. Yeah. And the double stops. So I got more range with double stops. And I can do chords. That's just not as easy to play in the other positions. Now I'm going to expand upon this to make things a little bit easier for you. I'm playing a variety of this first scale. We're expanding out to include just two edges of, or fringes, if you will, of two nearby positions. So we have this. And that helps you slide around and use a little bit more of the neck without getting too complicated or stuck in trying to force yourself into other positions just to look cool. So it would look something like this. And you can hear some Dickie Betts in there. And that's really a lot of what he does to make himself sound more intricate without having to go into other positions. You just master one area of the fretboard. And I love using these sides here because you can bend them. They're very bluesy. And you see what you can do with these areas here is so much with sliding. And then I got chords. I just love how much versatility there is in that position. You can't do that in other areas. And since most of us start out with this first position, why not learn to master that first before venturing on into other places? You really don't need to do too much. So we've got sliding. We got chords. Go around double stops. You would get down and dirty with a lot of bends. You have the most areas to bend with the coolest sounds. You got other bends. These are the common bends right here. Oh yeah. And when we incorporate some of the sliding, you can do a lot. Classic blues technique. And then you can do faster runs. You can even do some triplets and type stuff. And you can't really do it that fast. Let's say if I was doing it in this position up here. It's just a lot more inconvenient and it's different. And I was going to try and play a lick like this. If I was going to play something like that, I have to go up here and go. Or. Just a lot harder to play. But I can just go over here and use these bends. Plus, I can throw in some of those chords, which is really tasty. Some other things that are really versatile about this first position is the combination of the major and minor scale, which you hear a lot in Southern rock and country. Kind of those types of licks. And I love to throw in these major and minors, right? Extremely common nowadays. And with that major scale, you have some gateways into other bluesy licks. Now, just to make it even more bluesy for you. The room we're going to play in, we're going to include some other notes. Right here. That note right there doesn't sound right just yet. So we're going to use these notes to make your lead playing stand out even more, give you some pizzazz. See how I combined these two notes, major and minor, minor right here. And then this one right here, this is like a sleepy blues trick. So. Incorporating some of that major and minor, which is so easy to do in these positions. And even if you wanted to change it up to a major scale, you just drop this down 3 frets. There's your A major, and you can do different tasty licks with the same idea. And you can switch right back into minor. So you see I'm using. Why go anywhere else if you can master this? Yeah, you can make some more melodic sounds using some of the other pentatonic scales or the other positions. But for 99% of you, you're not going to need to use the whole neck unless you're trying to look cool. Because you can use Dickie Betts as that example in the beginning of One Way Out. Those bends alone are enough to stand on their own. See how that sounds cool and complicated, but it's really just me using this area between. And then I'm just sliding to the major scale if I want to use the major scale. Right up here. It's the A major scale as well. And I find that it's faster to use this position, and you have some fast licks you can play in these positions. And then you can do. So just a lot of hammer on and pull off type stuff that you can use. Without having to use a lot of finger economy. Since finger economy is saving you time and space. So a lot less work for you, and a lot more fun doing some bends and fast runs. And what else? What else? We got so many things we can talk about with this position. You got there's licks everywhere. Just the bends on their own have a lot of value. Float a little bit. So there's some ways that you can utilize a really simple first position of that pentatonic scale that we're all born into, and then often think that we've got to get away from that as quickly as possible so you avoid looking amateur at guitar. But really, a lot of the best players of all time have used this position and just hung out around there because they know that it works and they know that it's easier to play certain licks, and you don't need to venture off if you can create cool sounding licks using some of these higher strings. It sounds brighter, and then you can even have a little bit more sizzle when you're playing snap. It's not possible in other areas of the neck. So I hope you enjoyed this take on the pentatonic scale. It's a little bit different, and let me know what you think in the comments below, and have a rockin' week.